This is the night after Christmas. We have 4 days going into the new year. Yes, it is a brand new season of Monday Night Raw WWE. We are so excited. Wait, I'm sorry, my bad. We ain't excited no more. We saw what happened on Monday Night after Raw, after that turd burger, what they laid. Oh my God, yes, we know. This was absolutely the worst Monday Night Raw of all time. We'll get to that a little bit later. We'll talk about that because we all, you know, we don't really have that many opinions here at all, ever.
Especially
So
tonight, there's only two of us. So
we really don't have that much to talk about. We will
it'll be
get
like
into
a 4-minute
WrestleMania.
show.
This, and we're done. Thank you. Thank you. Good night. I'm playing. I'm just kidding. The bottom line of it is we have a lot to discuss. Um, and I understand that. I get it. And I understand that we are all sitting here and saying, oh, I'm so excited this would happen. WrestleMania lived up to what we expected it to be. And some of the matches were fantastic. Others, well, we'll get into that. But what we like to do between me and Brian, the intellectual savior of the wrestling masses, we like to thank you for visiting with us tonight. We like to thank you whether you're seeing us on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Apple, YouTube, Amazon, iHeartRadio. Give us a like, share, subscribe, 5-star rating. Let us know what you think. Interact with us. You can always, send us an email at wrestlingxegos.com. However you want to do this, ladies and gentlemen, let us know how you feel. If you feel that we're right on certain things, we think that you're wrong, guess what? We're still right. No, we're more than happy to listen to you and tell you you're wrong anyway. But here, let's get this started, ladies and gentlemen. B, overall, what did you think of WrestleMania?
I thought night one was about as good as you can get, which left me very excited for night two. And I like your day after Christmas analogy from the open, because it's, we call it wrestling Christmas for a reason, folks. It's the buildup, it's the anticipation. Christmas, you put up your decorations and you make your lists and you check them twice and you go caroling and you plan the holiday meal and everything, and who's bringing what appetizer and what are we doing, what cookies are we baking this year if you're in my household, and all that kind of stuff. And then sometimes it goes exactly the way you want to. And then there's sometimes where you're left kind of wanting more. And that's kind of my theme of the weekend. You're talking about Saturday going all the way into Monday evening. You're left wanting in certain areas. I look at it like I got a lot of what I wanted, so I'm happy. But then there's always a couple gifts that are under the tree. You're like, well, I didn't need another plaid sweater, and yet here we are. I didn't need another pair of slippers.
You know.
And yet here we are. My theme for tonight is, and I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody that's associated with the show when I say this, so please don't take this the wrong way.
I take it the wrong way.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to try my best to take the mature, learned view of things that are happening. That'll be the theme that I keep coming back to. But like I said, night one, dare I say, chef's kiss. Obviously, we got Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning the tag team championships off of the Usos in a phenomenal match. We got, was Charlotte and Rhea night one? Yes, because Asuka and Bianca were night two, I believe. I think, yeah. Right. So we got Rhea Ripley taking her rightful place as the SmackDown Women's Champion in a wonderful match, and the rumors are now that Charlotte's taking some time off, which is great. Fine by me. John Cena and Austin Theory was fine. I think it went how it needed to go. In fact, that was one of the matches that the Lovebird watched along with me before she turned in for the night. She goes, because I can't stay up this late and watch all this. I need to go to bed. And the one thing she noticed was John Cena's bald spot, which he is making no effort to hide whatsoever. He's embracing it. He's rolling with it. More power to him. And then we got the wonderful Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. Was that night 2, or were they also night 1? I really should have had the card up in front of me for that.
I should have the card up as well, but I think that was night 1.
Yeah, I'm going to pull it up really quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. That was just.
I feel like I'm getting long-winded here, but the point is, I mean, and really any WrestleMania goes like this. If you think about it, I can't remember the last WrestleMania where I thought, "Wow, I'm happy about everything," you know. But we're going to try and unpack quite a bit of stuff tonight, gang, because we have the 2 nights of WrestleMania to unpack. We have all that happened or didn't happen on the Monday Night Raw after Mania. And then the same day that happened, we had some rather seismic news in the fact that the sale of WWE has actually happened. Endeavor has bought them. They are the parent company of UFC. So now they're going to create a combat sports mega company, I guess you would call it, because you've got the UFC folks headed up by Dana White still, and WWE, which apparently is still being headed up by Vince McMahon, who, gang, let me talk to you really quick. Oh, God, now I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did somebody tell Vince that his new look is box office or something? Because, you know, the Gomez Adams mustache, so I've kept hearing it, you know, and the you know, hair club for men, you know, not only am I a president, but I'm also a client. You know, no, not hair club for men, the just for men, that he, you know, like painted in with the, you know, with the Bob Ross starter kit. I hate it. I hate the look. I hate, you know, blah. But Big Mang, what part do you want to start with? Because I feel like I'm getting too far. I feel it's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to wrap your head around. Where should we go first?
Okay, let's start in order.
Okay.
Night 1, I was the entrances were what I expected them to be. I feel the best one for me personally was Rey Mysterio. Even though Dom's was, I have to say it was gangster because that was like, really, you're gonna go there and get him out of the cell and then have Ray's mask on him, and then Ray coming in with the lowrider, with Snoop Dogg driving him with Ain't Nothing But a G Thing playing until they actually went into the stadium, and then Eddie's music hits. Oh my God. Yes, that was hot. I loved it. Um, and I love the way they progressed the storyline, and even stuck with the storyline the night before with Dominic walking out of the award ceremony when it happened to progress this even more. Um, no one's I didn't see that one coming, but to go along with the storyline, I get it. I understand. It's one of those things you're just like, really? Okay, they're that dedicated to it. But Seth Rollins, you know, I did like the conductor part. That was kind of interesting. I love that. Love what they did with that. Logan Paul, really, you couldn't think of another way to get into the ring other than using Shawn Michaels. Come on, dude.
I thought that was fine because not many other people, hardly anybody else, has tried to do it. So, and it's typical with his look at me persona, for him to try something like that. So I didn't have a problem with it. you know, I can say I liked it better when Shawn Michaels did it first, but it's in keeping with Logan Paul's character.
Um, I just I kept thinking that Brock Lesnar was going to do the right thing and put Omos over, but Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar.
Well, you're getting into
Um,
night two now. Don't forget. I don't know if you wanted to go night one, night two. I mean, I pulled the card up. I mean, pretty much every match had some good things about it. You had Cena Theory at the beginning. Then you
okay,
had the tag team, the men's tag team showcase, which wound up being a wonderful match. And KD even said as much on the show chat. He apologized to everybody for saying that it was going to be garbage or shite, as he called it. Um, that one wound up actually being quite fun. Then you had Rollins and Logan Paul. The Now I remember in the show chat I said that the 6 women tag match, Damage Control and versus Becky and Lita and Trish, that one left. That might have been the one clunker of the night on night one because Lita looked like she had lost a step or two. That was
uh,
where I noticed, unfortunately, you know, like they were taking extra care to make sure the moves were hit. Where Lita used to be able to move around with reckless abandon and stuff like that. Um, so that one I thought was maybe the only misstep of the night. And then you had Ray and Dominic, um, and then Charlotte and Rhea. Who congratulations to Rhea because she's now the first person to ever win NXT UK, NXT Raw, SmackDown, and the women's tag team championships. That's saying something. I mean, that's a lot of gold to hold. And then even the comedy match they had where the Miz faced Pat McAfee is kind of like a palate cleanser before the main event. I thought was spontaneous and fun for what it was. And then you got to the main event, which was like I said, the Usos and Zayn and Owens. The pops that everybody got, especially, and it was nice to see Kevin Owens get the pop that he got because it's
he's
easy for him to get lost in the shuffle with all this. And I thought it was nice to see him get his props and have a moment to shine and everything like that. Um,
even though a lot of people didn't know who Little Uzi Burke was when he did the intro for the Usos, they're like, "So who's this dude?" Anyway,
I've
I
heard
get it.
of him. I don't know much of what he does, but that was nice. And now we can add the Usos to that trivia question from a couple of weeks ago. Superstars who have been sung to the ring by a performer. We can add the Usos to that list. Um, but there were a lot more. I had a lot more issues with things that were done on night two, and I guess we should have seen this coming with the personalities that were involved. Because you had Lesnar Omos, you had the women's tag team match, which I guess Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey were a part of, but you never know it from watching the in-ring action because they hung out and had cervezas at ringside until it was time for them to come in and get the win.
Like, hey, are we wrestling tonight?
Yeah.
Oh,
Now
we got-
we should go in there now. Okay.
okay, let's go. Really,
I mean, that to me was where the night started going off the rails, and even in the Lesnar Omos match, at the beginning of it, Omos was making Lesnar look ordinary. So you could say, I mean, yeah, Lesnar is trying to put Omos over, but then it became Brock wins lull.
I
I
know
don't think that match did Omos any favors, quite frankly.
it did. It did. It was a waste of time. You should have tried to put Omos over and make him be the giant that he is, and make him dominating, and make him, and then he could sit here and say, I beat down Brock Lesnar at
Yeah.
WrestleMania,
In
and
hindsight, I can see
that
why. Given the events of Monday, I can kind of see why. We'll get to that in a minute. The Hell in a Cell match left me wanting more. And I think we all know why it left me wanting more. Because that injury stoppage when Balor got his head cut open, I think derailed whatever chance that match had of being the legendary match we were hoping it would be.
Yeah. Let's just be honest. The entrances that we wanted to see were phenomenal. Um, the fact being that, you know, and I'll bring this up a little bit later. They were there were not that many storylines going into WrestleMania that had gone more than a month or two, other than Edge, um, Finn Balor, and Judgment Day, except maybe two or three. And I'll talk about them briefly, but a little bit later. But it was unfortunate that he got hurt. And normally we sit there and say, "Oh, it was a joke." The next day, you saw those staples on his head, and you were like, "Oh
Yeah,
shit!"
that's not. It's not something that, I mean, wrestler safety being what it is now, you understand why they had to do that and take those precautions. You know,
It's the sell. People get hurt,
yeah.
and we all know that people have gotten hurt in those matches, and that was one of them. Um,
I'll
glad to
say
feel.
from a work rate standpoint, night 2 was saved by the Intercontinental Triple Threat, Sheamus, Gunther, McIntyre. And it was saved work rate by Roman and Cody. Because say what you want about the result of Roman and Cody, it was still a great match. It was still, you know, a wonderful showcase of their skill sets. And there were multiple times, just like in Montreal with Elimination Chamber and Sammy, where you thought Cody's going to do it, Cody's going to do it, Cody's going to do it. So I want to get your thoughts. I think we need to spend some time talking Gunther, Sheamus, McIntyre, because that match deserves to be talked about a little bit. We'll do that, and then we'll get to the main event, because I think that's going to underscore everything else that we talk about going forward.
Okay, let's talk about Sheamus, Drew, and Gunther's match. Just thinking about that match right now makes my chest hurt. And if it doesn't make your chest hurt,
Remember what
then
I put in the show chat during the match?
remind me and B right now, because the way they were, as Patrick, who's not here tonight, would say, first man to die loses, and they were trying to kill each other,
Yeah.
and
I even posted in the show chat during the match. I said, "Okay, now I understand."
they're gonna kill each other, and
I
there's
get
no,
it now, gang.
oh my god.
Because I'll freely admit, and this, I'm not really breaking new ground when I say this, but when I watched the Clash at the Castle match, as it happened, and then again, for the year-end Iggy Award proceedings, I remember sitting there thinking, I just don't get it. All they're doing is chopping each other. But now I get it a little bit more, because that's not the classical definition, but that's British strong style. It's chops, kicks, punches. You're not going to see submissions. You're not going to see flippy stuff. You're not going to really see any of that. It's brutality. I'm going to brutalize you, and I'm going to see how long you can take it before you finally tap out, or you keep your shoulders down on the mat for a 3 count. And the obvious storytelling they're doing is, how can you keep Sheamus, from winning the Intercontinental Championship again? It makes you wonder when he'll get another opportunity, if they're positioning Gunther for the things that they apparently are positioning him for.
You look at this, and you look at these guys, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna kill each other. And I'm sitting here loving the fact that I'm sitting here just like, are you seeing this, dude? Like, oh my god. And everyone's saying it. And if you didn't, shame on you. How about that?
And it might just be that it's not your cup of tea, and that's kind of the way I felt back at Clash at the Castle. Like, this just isn't for me. I don't know if it was the addition of Drew to the match, I don't, and I'm not saying that he is this, athletic marvel necessarily, that does a little bit more of the stuff that I tend to like to see. But there was more of a storyline involved because you had the Sheamus and Drew partnership evaporating right before your eyes, and Gunther sitting over here saying, "Hey, don't you forget about me, because I'll knock your block off, basically. If you forget about me for too long."
You got three guys in the ring hitting each other with the ferocity of what Ric Flair used to hit people with the ferocity of what Big Show, when he came in the WWE, used to hit like, and those are not easy to sit there and do.
Harley Race.
And Harley Race, but you're sitting here just like, oh my God, they're gonna kill each other, and I'm loving every minute of it. That match was, yeah, that was probably one of
And
the best.
I'll tell you another reason I liked it too. Sheamus and Drew took Gunther into some deep water because there were points where they had Gunther like dead to rights. And so far, other than Ilya Dragunov, I cannot think of an opponent who has taken Gunther into the deep water. Usually, it's your typical 5 to 10 minute showcases for Gunther. You know, you're not going to get that with him versus Ricochet. You're not going to get that with him versus Mustafa Ali. You're not going to get that with him versus Chad Gable or whoever you want to run at him on SmackDown.
Chad Gable might be able to go that far with him because he's got the endurance to do it.
True.
Braun
But this
Strowman.
was the first time that I can remember since Ilya Dragunov's matches with him where
Right.
Gunther was put to the test.
There weren't that many, but there are certain people that I think can make him look absolutely fantastic. Or you could sit there and say, I see where they're going with him.
Yeah.
Um, I think that they're eventually going to get um, him to the world championship.
Yes.
Is that a year away? I don't know. Um, but I keep saying to myself, everyone's like, oh, it's going to be, as Roman put it, we're making storylines. We're not giving you, hamburgers. We're giving you filet mignon, and these storylines are going to go on forever. And it's like, dude, you just had like a couple of the longest storylines of all time, dude. But I, but my theory is a little different than everybody else's. I'll go into that later. But that's what I feel about
Well, we can
that.
go into it now because the Roman Cody thing seems to be the linchpin of everybody's how reactionary everybody was associated with our show. And based on the YouTube reactions that I've been seeing and the pieces that I've read and stuff like that, a lot of people thought Cody was going to win. Um, would you like me to give you a theory and then get out of the way, or do you want to go first?
No, no, no. You go first. I'll let you go.
What this means to me is that if Roman is planning on taking any time off, it's not happening soon. Now, I did read earlier tonight that he's not scheduled to be at Backlash in Puerto Rico, which is fine. It also tells me that they're going to get him to 1,000 days as champion, which is significant because gone are the days. I mean, they rattled off the names: Bob Backlund, Pedro Morales, Hulk Hogan, Bruno Sammartino. You're looking for the list of people who have been champion in WWE or WWF for more than 1,000 days. That was the list, people. Bruno Sammartino number 1, Pedro Morales number 2, Hulk Hogan number 3, Bob Backlund number 4. Or it might be Backlund 3, Hogan 4.
That is Backlund then Hogan.
Yeah.
Hogan had it for 3+ years or so. Backlund had it
So
for
the
like.
bottom line is we're so used to titles being hot shotted. There was the year when Triple H and The Rock kept trading it back and forth when Austin was out. That's why it was so novel when CM Punk was champion for 434 days back in 2012, 2013. We're like, wow, this is, because we're not used to 400, 500, 600 day long title reigns because we crave the next big thing, the next, the next, the next. So in a vacuum, the nuanced, mature wrestling fan that is Brian Kriego can appreciate the story that Roman and his ilk are trying to tell. The visceral part of me, Cody came along like a house on fire, cutting all these promos. This was just about winning a belt. Now you've gone and you made it personal and all that. And I bought into the narrative of finish the story, finish the story, finish the story. And then on Raw, you see Cody teaming up with Brock Lesnar to face Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa and Swerve, and I forget who to give it credit to, but I saw somebody posted on Twitter on Tuesday morning. I think I read it. Tuesday morning or Tuesday afternoon. It can't be that easy for Cody to achieve what his dad never could. There was always going to be labors involved for Cody. Why can't people see that? And I stopped and I thought about it for a minute. I'm not trying to imply that Cody's road to this point has been easy because he left, he went away, he started another company, he left that company, he comes back, he has the matches with Seth, and then he tears his pectoral muscle. He's got to go away and rehab, But what I will say is there's insiders that are reporting that Cody is not viewed the same way that he used to be by the higher ups. And when I say higher ups, I'm talking about Vince and his people. We know how Triple H feels about him, but
what they don't like him, or they don't think he's the face of the company.
they're not viewing Cody as a mid carder, is what I'm saying. They view Cody as championship material, and that this creative with Brock had been in place long before Vince came back in the role that he's apparently in now, where he's going to be a lot more hands-on and stuff like that. And that's reporting coming from a guy that I actually trust, who's right a lot more often than he's wrong. I'm talking about Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful.com reported that. I trust that guy because 99 times out of 100, he's on the money. So I choose to stand back a little bit and say, okay, that's going to make it all the more sweeter when Cody does finally become champion. However that comes. Maybe Cody isn't the guy to take it off of Roman. Maybe they're grooming Gunther to do it. Maybe they're grooming Solo Sikoa or Jey Uso to do it. We keep forgetting about, the devil you know versus the devil you don't. So there's millions of different ways they could go with this. You look like you're getting ready to pounce.
Please, no, continue.
No, I'm gonna let you get in there because I just gave you a ton of stuff to chew on. Because I know you have feelings. I know you're in your feelings about this.
Let's just be. I was gonna throw another name into that mix. Um, when it comes to who could take the belt off him, and Seth frickin' Rollins is another name that's right up there.
You cannot overlook that man and what he's done the past 3 years. They retweeted that. They tweeted out that list of all the people that he's defended the championship against since the reign started again. And they added Cody Rhodes to the bottom of it, and Seth retweeted it and said, proud to be the one, because in parentheses it says lost via disqualification, or one, Seth won by disqualification. He's like, I'm the one. He's still needling every chance he gets. Would I be mad if it was Seth? No, I would not, because that's a backstory there. because I remember how visibly frustrated Roman was getting during that match, and that's why it went to a disqualification. Was Roman let his emotions get the better of him and didn't release the guillotine after the 5 count.
Okay. We'll just hit the bottom, rant mode on. There. Okay, let me get to what I was arguing with my friend about last night. He was saying that Roman Reigns has gotten Roman Reigns should have stayed at the position that he was in because the ratings are up. Everything's looking fantastic. There's no real reason that he should have dropped it to Cody Rhodes. I stood here and vehemently disagreed with him. Yes, yes, I'm talking about my friend last night. He knows who he is. I know he's going to be watching. Now,
You
we
know what you
stay.
did.
He's probably gonna be watching this like, yeah, you talking about me? Yeah, I'm talking about you, Ryan. Yes, you. Um, but here's the deal, and I stood here and I said this, and I keep saying that with everything that the Rhodes family has done for the wrestling business, for who they've grown to be in the positions that they're in, that you should at least, you know, show some respect and put their name on it. And the fact of the matter being is that, yes, Dusty, I think, won a title somewhere here or there besides US and everything else, and blah, blah, blah. And I get that. I understand it. What I am saying is this, and that is that they could have done something where he would have lost at WrestleMania. A week later, they could have given it right back to Roman and then kept it pushing. They did the same thing with the Undertaker and Hulk Hogan when they faced him the first time. They've done that a couple other times in the past, but at least get him the title. If they were going to sit here and go, if they were going to do something else, then let Roman be Roman, do his storyline, whatever the case that might be, and the direction, put it on Cody, and have him, stretch it out till SummerSlam, even possibly stretch it out to next year at the Rumble. Solidify the fact that Rock is going to be there, have Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, have him drop at the Rumble, and then we're off and running. But at least give him the opportunity to at least have the belt and have it on him, very similar to the way that Jericho was able to have the title when he beat both Rock and Stone Cold in the same night. Yes, the ratings did drop, but at the same time, you gave him a chance and had these other people solidify him as the champion to make it at least look legitimate when he dropped the belt. We all knew he wasn't going to be there forever, but now the same way we look at Chris Jericho now, we say, "Oh, okay, he's the Ocho." You sit here and you put some damn respect on his name. We're sitting here talking about just not one facet of him because he did win the title here. He did win it here, but he first won that world title there. And we put some respect on his name when it comes to that. Now, my friends are going to argue with me. A lot of people are going to argue with me. You're right. So, some of the things you may say may be right. I will disagree vehemently if you give me the opportunity to let you know that, look, you at least got to give him the belt at least once. Now they're going to say he's not ready, to be the champion. You're not going to put someone that left the company and then make him the face of the company when he comes back. Some people will feel that way. Other people are going to say, you should have done him right. You
I'm
know,
going to
disagree, of course.
respectfully disagree with you on a couple of points. Cody and multiple sources have reported this too, throughout Cody's relationship with all of the powers that be in WWE is rock solid right now. When Cody was brought back, the reports were that he had a long sit down with Triple H and then a long sit down with Vince. And whatever air needed to be cleared was cleared. About Cody saying, I felt like I had to leave to go better myself. There's parallels between Cody and Drew McIntyre, if you think about it. Drew was not happy with how he was being utilized back in the day when he was the chosen one. He left. He worked the independents. He worked, throughout Europe and throughout Mexico and throughout Japan and places like that. When they brought him back to NXT, he was a far different performer than when he left. Cody did a lot more than that. Cody went out and bet on himself and his friends and started a promotion. He started All Elite Wrestling from the ground up. And it's the place now for these people to go that for more exposure. That's what that's where the Switchblade Jay White wound up going. He picked AEW.
We'll go into him in just a moment.
Right. And the other reports are also that this creative involving Brock was put in place a couple months ago. My guess is that, I have to look at it from their point of view. They think there is more meat on the bone of Roman as champion. And I would argue that you're starting to see little bits of that. As a paranoid champion now, the Usos have lost their gold. So they did not come out with them on Monday night. They were told, hey, the private jet's waiting. You can go start helping yourself to the buffet that we got set up in the private jet, and Roman and Solo will be out after the main event tonight. They were dismissed by Paul Heyman. So they must think, and you can call the filet mignon comment a little bit crass and a little bit like self-serving and stuff like that, but Roman's got a point. He's making you continue to tune in to see when he actually does get beat, how it's going to go down, and by whom. And Cody gave him the match of his life on night 2 of WrestleMania. But once again, the numbers game, working in your favor. That's what a heel champion does, unfortunately. They retain that belt by any means necessary. So what I'm saying is this: if it does wind up being Cody Rhodes, wherever that is, whether it's SummerSlam, whether it's Survivor Series, whether it's Royal Rumble, or Mania next year, even though I really hope they don't make me wait that long to see it, it's going to be all the more sweeter and all the more cathartic because of the fact that, look at all the stuff Cody will, like Shawshank Redemption, you had to crawl through, 2 miles of crap or whatever to get to the promised land. Maybe that's the metaphor that Cody has to go through these labors to get to his ultimate goal. I don't think I don't look at it as being disrespectful towards Cody or being disrespectful to the Rhodes family to not pull the trigger on it at this moment in time. I look at it as the plans for Roman are already in place, and Cody just happens to be a part of that plan for right now. That's kind of how I'm choosing to look at it.
I look at it a little bit differently in the aspect of I see what you're saying, and I somewhat agree, but I also somewhat differently. I don't agree, and the reason why I don't agree is because you had two to three storylines out of, let's say, 4 storylines that you had going into WrestleMania, and 2 out of 3 were tied into Roman. But you didn't. Your development of the other stories were horrible crap, and they didn't do anything else. Now, don't get me wrong, and my buddy Ryan will sit here and say this. Hi, Ryan. Will also sit here and say, that storyline was fantastic. You're right, it was fantastic, but you didn't do anything else for the entire year. Now, Ray and Dominic, that's a storyline. You know, you had, Sammy and the bloodline and the way they went, another storyline. Him and Jay, inner fighting. That was another storyline. But in Edge versus Finn Balor and the Judgment Day was another storyline. But then you got nothing else. You're supposed to be make me interested from top to bottom in each match. You guys didn't do that, and you didn't have what you needed. We were talking about possibly the night after Monday Night Raw of possibly having Cody in the ring with AJ Styles, the Good Brothers, Finn Balor, and Jay White Switchblade, and what that would mean to have those guys in the ring at the same time and say, "Holy crap, this is awesome!" Now let's just be honest and let's get into it, y'all. The night after Monday Night Raw. Oh my God! If there was the emoji, y'all know which one I'm talking about. The one that's brown. You know what I'm talking about.
I
I ain't
do
got
know
to
what
tell
you're talking about, but I was right because
the
guess who
Monday
came
night,
back?
bro.
Yeah,
That's you. Hold on, wait, bro. That's all you got?
I made a prediction and it's right.
No, 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 no. Uh, B,
Come on.
I'll, B. I will give you. I will give you your flowers. I will put
Yes.
respect on your name.
Yes.
But WWE. That was the only thing you got. This is the biggest crowd that you have. The most excited into everything crowd the night after WrestleMania. You just don't have people from LA there. You got the entire world there that spent the last 2 nights watching WrestleMania. You were supposed to deliver. And what happened? Oh, wait, did someone just fall? Oh, we had Tyson World Slide going right underneath the ring because that's exactly what you did. That was the biggest turd burger of all time on Monday Night Raw. You just spit in our face. What was that? What was that crap? Yes, I'm talking to you, WWE. What the hell was that? B?
In keeping with the theme of the evening, the mature and nuanced wrestling fan that I, Brian Kriego, have become, you could, and I legitimately just came to me. I'm not trying to be a smartass. I'm really not. You could
Okay.
make the argument, and believe me or don't believe me, side with me, don't side with me. If your company is merging with UFC under the parent company umbrella of Endeavor, there might need to be some financial considerations paid for that. And as such, you might not have the finances to bring in anybody new. Because some people that, there were some folks that I watched on TV this week about the merger that rightly said when you have two companies like this that merge, they go through a procedure called synergy, where duplicate roles are erased. Because as your parent company, you don't need two heads of human resources. So somebody gets laid off, unfortunately. You don't need, you don't need IT specialists, for both companies. You obviously merge those into one department. So the argument could be made that if you're trying to get your books in order, you then don't turn around and throw money at what it would take to bring somebody like Switchblade Jay White in, or bring somebody in like trying to think of some other people that were rumored. I can't think of anybody. But you then have all those names that we mentioned that are supposed to be coming back from injury pretty soon. When we do get, we got Riddle back, when we do get AJ Styles back, and we get Randy Orton back in whatever capacity he's going to be coming back in, and if we get Big E back, that's an infusion of talent akin to a free agent signing, and I know that might not move the needle the way the Switchblade would have, but maybe I'm playing devil's advocate when I say this, that it's what I've been saying for a long time. You look around at the talent you do have and you say, maybe we should use these people before we keep bringing in the shiny new toy, because that's what we've said that AEW has a problem with. They want the shiny new toy. And I tuned into Dynamite the other day, and I saw Keith Lee walk into the picture with like a gray beard and a gray hair on his head, and I'm like, oh my god, what are we doing? It's been a while since I saw the Limitless one on my television, so maybe that's the standpoint. And what I heard was that the Jay White decision was made a while ago, and it was basically poor communication between the camps. Going all the way back to like end of February, beginning of March, where there was interest from certain people, but Jay wasn't satisfied with the communication and that sort of thing, so he had to make a decision for himself and his family. He decided to go with AEW. So I don't know. I mean, and I forget, it was last week, Patrick, I think it was Patrick said that, let's face it, the Raw after WrestleMania hasn't been that great for almost a half a decade. Even though we used to look at it as, well, oh my God, the Raw after Mania, all this stuff is going to happen. But lately it hasn't been. It's been kind of a clunker.
Well, this is the biggest turnaround that we've seen in a very, very long time. Now, I understand that we had, but this was the first this is the first Raw after WrestleMania I want to say post COVID. They should have brought it. They
Right.
did not. They were in the midst. They're in the midst. They were in the midst of selling the company, which they did. They should have that. They should have had that sewn up as to what was going on and had that ready to roll. They did not. The fact that Vince McMahon is still going to be a part of this company is another huge, gigantic problem. You that
Yeah,
you should
I'm not a fan of that at all.
you should have dropped that turd burger in the midst of this too. And it's like sitting here and keeping R. Kelly, who I mean, in charge of of a Catholic diocese, for women. What the hell are you doing? This needs to
It's
go.
looking more and more
Should have
like the
stayed
sanctions
paid.
against him last year were a slap on the wrist. That that he paid, because his net worth now it's skyrocketed.
It's just it's disgusting.
Yeah,
The long
it's
the long and short of it, and that's just I'm not okay with that. I still say Vince should have been gone, and Triple H after he sold, you said, look, sell your shares, get out while you still can, but you're gonna keep this man in the position that he's in, and I think personally, you're exactly wrong for doing this, and this is hugely bad, and you need to punish Vince.
the
You need
fact
to.
that he is now back and apparently in the role that he has, where he has final say so to undo decisions that Triple H and the rest of the people in creative are making. It's had a huge impact on morale. It's had a percentage of the roster wondering, am I going to get released again, or am I just going to get released outright? Um, certain people don't have to worry about their spots, but there's other people that there's been investment put in that you just don't know if they're going to get the same run if Vince is back on the headset as opposed to Triple H. And it's got to be disconcerting to apparently have your legs cut out from underneath you if you're Triple H. I don't know how I could come to work every day knowing that, you know, every decision I make is going to be questioned, second guessed, or thrown out the window.
Here's the other thing that just threw me the hell off. And I'll say this, and I'll die on this hill. Why the hell did you bring up Braun Breaker? What the hell? I mean, you bring back Bro, which is fine, but you don't bring up Braun after he drops a belt. Come on, You need to have somebody else in there. Now, I don't
Well,
know what happened. I don't know what happened on SmackDown tonight, so I don't know if Braun possibly shows up or he doesn't, or whatever the case may
he
be.
probably isn't because he turned heel on Carmelo Hayes on Tuesday.
I understand that. That's what I'm saying. I doubt that he's going to show up on SmackDown, but here's your perfect opportunity that everyone's like, you know what? Um, he needs to. You need to bring him up. You need to call him up, but you didn't do that. And the problem with that is you didn't bring anybody else back. No one else was ready, and you could have brought him up, and this would have been the perfect time. And as far as I'm concerned, you dropped the ball. You
I've
fumbled
got
it.
one more theory to advance before we put a bow on this evening. There's
Go
an
right ahead.
opportunity afoot for All Elite Wrestling to regain some of the mojo that it's lost. And I'll tell you why. All Elite Wrestling has now made 3 significant acquisitions in the past couple of weeks. That if they play their cards right, and I will allow that that's a big if, given the track record and the fact they seem to be spinning their wheels and running in place and all that. The 3 significant acquisitions that they made, they're breathing with the switchblade. They brought Jay White in, so he's all elite. He's aligned with Juice Robinson. Too sweet. Throw those up. Nigel McGuinness is all elite now. Let's not discount the pedigree that he brings, the wrestling mind that he has. He's on par with a William Regal in terms of a wrestling mind. He's been through the wars. He's done it in Ring of Honor. He's done it in NXT. You're going to tell me that he can't work with some of that young all elite wrestling talent and bring them along, you know? And I'm not going to say the name because I don't know if I did it right in the show chat. But there's a third name that was a front office character or a front office personality in WWE, specifically with NXT, who worked specifically with Triple H, and he was in WWE's employ for about 25 years. He left the company in January. So his non-compete clause must have been up because All Elite Wrestling signed him as well to work behind the scenes in production. The name Alex Hopkins keeps running through my head, but I don't think that's the correct name. So if I'm wrong, I'll apologize next week. That's a significant talent acquisition at all levels for your company. You've got an in-ring personality. You've got a commentary / manager type person, along the lines of what William Regal was doing, along the lines of what Sanjay Dutt has been doing with Jeff Jarrett and Sandam Singh and Jay Lethal.
Lethal.
And then you've got a behind the scenes person who's going to be working in the offices, but has been in the trenches with WWE for 2 decades, who's going to be bringing all of his experience to bear too. We've talked about how, for AEW to truly be considered a rival to WWE, a viable rival to them, you've got to work smart, not hard. You've got to maximize the talent that you do have and make sure they find a way to get on TV every week, week in and week out. You got to make the feuds make sense. And the last thing I'm going to say is this. If you did not watch AEW Dynamite this week, you have to queue it up because they were emanating from Long Island, and MJF came out and sang Pennies from Heaven. And gang, he freaking killed it. This dude, I've never seen somebody swing between heel and face and heel and face and heel and face so many times. Whenever he sings, like the thing he did with Jericho a couple of years ago, the Dinner Debonair, whatever they called it, that was brilliant. And now he's coming out getting the key to Oyster Bay, Long Island, and he's singing "Pennies from Heaven" with a big band, a big band set up on the stage. and he's hunched over a podium. Can somebody increase the volume on this mic? So I'm gonna hunch over like a doofus. Could you help a guy out? It was brilliant. So to say that AEW is not doing everything right would be not correct. They're doing a lot of things right. They're trying to get back the mojo they had before, and I think all these signings is a step in that direction. Final thoughts from the Big Mang before we clean up the wrapping paper and the stockings and the confetti and
bring free.
have some Christmas gruel.
Yeah, that too. I'm interested to see where things go. I was, I'm gonna be honest. Christmas morning, night one to night two, I'm okay with that. It was good, but the day after when I'm cleaning up, I can't even. I don't want to respond to y'all on that. I expected more. Y'all didn't get. Y'all just gave me a lump of coal.
That's why
AEW
you
has
leave the Christmas decorations up for a couple of weeks, Isaac, so you can still appreciate the beauty of the season.
well, no, but
you're one of those Grinches that takes everything down on December 26th and goes in the attic.
As some people have it, it's already coming down. It's already done. The day after.
You're one of those people.
Hey, you gotta come down sometime. Congratulations. As I sit here and thought about it, and I'm gonna say this real quick. If you haven't seen AEW on Wednesday night, they finally gave the tag belts back to FTR, and they're one of the tag teams that, they were saying, hey, our contracts are up. We may be going someplace else. Blah blah blah. And you thought to yourself, would they go back to WWE? And the bottom line of that is no, because they don't focus on tag team wrestling anymore. And yes, the tag belts between, Sammy and Kevin and the Usos, but that was tied up for 2 years. And you held everyone else down. And that just doesn't work anymore. And when you got a team like FTR that's killing the game, doing what they do, you gotta put the spotlight on, make them look fantastic. The problem of it is they went all around the world and made themselves look fantastic, and they did. And that's the thing.
They're actually too good for WWE if you think about it.
They are, honestly.
Yeah.
And WWE made a statement saying they were looking to Kenny Omega. Omega's too good for anybody in WWE right now. And we all know that. And I'm not the biggest Omega fan, but the bottom line is he's too big for that.
There's a lot of people in AEW who have made themselves it's not necessary for them to go to WWE. Kenny Omega, FTR, I'll even go so far as to say the Young Bucks, Darby Allin, MJF, they don't need WWE. All Elite Wrestling has given them that platform, and in case of Omega and the Bucks, they were earning that platform long before AEW even was an idea.
The problem of it is they didn't fit the mold
right
that WWE had.
But my argument is they don't need to worry about it because they would go there and we would be disappointed because of how they'd be used, how they'd be repackaged, whatever.
It would be a disaster. And that's all I'm saying. AEW, when it comes to wrestling right now, is still putting on better shows and storylines and things that I'm more interested in, other than what's happening in WWE. Now, I can change my mind in a couple weeks. That's always a possibility. WWE.
And you'll want to stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. From the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for joining us this week for the two-man power trip. Come back and join us next week. We don't know what we'll be talking about next week because we haven't had that pre-show meeting yet, but it will be a doozy. So for everyone associated with the show, for Katie and Patrick who are in absentia this week, for the Big Mang, Isaac, and for all of our loved ones, thank you so much for consuming our content however you do it. As Isaac said at the top, whether it's on Apple, Google, Amazon, Spotify, or iHeart podcasting platforms, or right here on the YouTubes. We appreciate it. This is Wrestling with Egos. We are your source for wrestling infotainment. We thank you so much for joining us. Even when things don't go according to plan, we're still going to sit here and talk about it, because this is why we love, despite all evidence to the contrary, this is why we love professional wrestling. Take care now.